What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be ranking every single pet in the game. Now, I've done other videos where I ranked like the exotic pets or like the top 20, but this time we're just going to go all in and rank all 60 pet families. And so if you think about that, I'm trying to keep this video under an hour. So we're going to have to kind of move pretty quick, but this is going to be the perfect video to play in the background while you're driving your car, to play in the background while you're doing your weeklies, or if you're insane, you can pop a bag of popcorn and get right into it alongside me. So here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna rank the pets based off of their effectiveness and their special abilities. We're gonna rank them based off of the synergy with pet specs. And we're gonna rank them based on how cool they look. And for exotic pets, they're basically gonna get a point for being exotic and then minus 1 point because only BM can use them. So we're just gonna treat them like every other pet. And obviously, a lot of this stuff's gonna be opinion. So if you think I messed up somewhere, drop a comment down below. I'll reply to every single one of my comments. Let me know what you think. And while you're at it, you might as well hit the like button. And if you like the content today, my goal is going to be to earn your sub. So let's get right into it. Starting off with the Akiris. Now these are exotic, and they come with the abilities Tendon Rip and Dune Strider, with Tendon Rip being able to slow your enemies, and Dune Strider actually speeding up the speed of your pet. Now it's actually interesting because Tendon Rip is mostly useful in PvP when you're trying to maintain your distance or close the distance. But Dune Strider is actually going to be super valuable in like raids, because that time that your pet takes to slowly meander over to the next enemy if you don't have your kill command up, you're losing damage there, right? So Akiri is actually the most recommended pet for a hunter to take if you're doing endgame raids. But the fact that these two abilities actually are better in different types of content, that means the synergy of the pet specs is going to be off the charts whether you're going into PvP or PvE. But unfortunately, they are ugly as all hell. They really deserve to be in the S tier functionally, but I'm putting them A tier. Next, we're gonna look at Basilisk. Let me move these arms out of the way. All right, Basilisk. All right, they come with Petrifying Gaze. Once again, reducing the movement speed of the enemy by 50%. It's not exotic, so that's the only ability it comes with. Fantastic in PvP. Synergizes well with Cunning specs so that you can speed yourself up while you're slowing the enemy down. So gonna be a really good pet for if you're taking survival. And unfortunately, there's just not a ton of variety in the looks department. They all basically look the same, and they're all basically pretty ugly. So Basilisk, where the hell is my Basilisk? It's going B tier. Next, Bats. Okay, they come with the ability Sonic Screech, which is basically a purge ability, removing one disease, magic, and poison effect from itself, which frankly is not something that I've ever had to worry about. I've never experienced where I've been like, oh shit, my pet has a magic effect on them. You know, probably won't even notice it. And once again, they all look the fucking same. So this is one of those throwaway pets that's going straight to D tier. Don't even tame one. Okay, now we got the bears. Now these guys are worth taking a look at because they come with thick fur. When falling below 40% health, the bear's fur will thicken, granting 60% reduced incoming damage for 15 seconds. Now I've talked to you guys about how all of the pet special abilities, it's basically 6 abilities that just repeat over each other. They're all basically parent abilities and they all have their own name. So for the bears, it's called Triggered Defense, which makes sense because it triggers when they fall below 40% health. Okay, this is the best defensive ability that your pet can come with. There's 3, it's Trigger Defense, Dodge, and one that's just called Defense. And Dodge is the worst one. And with the bears, we actually have some sweet looking models from Floral to Undead to Psoriasis. I really like taking these when I'm not playing Beastmaster if I'm doing solo content. We're gonna put bears in the S tier. You know what, Akiri has to go S tier, it's just too good. They look ugly, but it's too good. Okay, next we have beetles, which come with the ability Harden Carapace. All right, now listen to this. The beetle hardens up, reducing damage taken by 50% for 12 seconds. That's the defense ability that I was talking to you about. Mid-tier defensive ability for your pet. Works well with both ferocity and tenacity if you're going solo, but again, it's not the best one that you can take. And frankly, well, you know, these guys are actually pretty cool looking. We got all sorts of different shapes, sizes, and colors, but not cool enough to make their way into the B tier. Now we got Birds of Prey. Now listen, Birds of Prey are good. They come with Talon Rend, right? Reducing movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. This is the parent ability. Slow, fantastic in PvP. Synergizes perfectly with the Cunning spec, but frankly, you could take Ferocity into PvP as well and do just fine. And I'm only putting 3 models up on screen because I'm trying to move quickly. But these guys basically all look super dope. I'm gonna put Birds of Prey in the S tier as well. And if you want to see more Birds of Prey, I'll go ahead and put a card up on screen because I recently just made a Birds of Prey pet breakdown guide video. Okay, so next we got Blood Beasts. They come with Blood Bolt, reducing movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. Okay, just like the Birds of Prey. Now these guys look pretty metal. I can understand why somebody would like the way they look. I personally don't, and there's not enough variety for me to really like them at all. But ultimately, since they're useful, they're gonna go into the A tier. Actually, no, we're gonna go into B tier. We're gonna do A tier if it's useful in PvE and PvP, and we're gonna do B tier if it's only useful in one or the other, which really mean that bears and birds of prey need to go into the A tier. We're making it happen, we're making it happen. Okay, so we got boars. Come with a special ability, Bristle, reducing damage by 50% for 12 seconds. And do they look cool? Frankly, surprisingly, yes. There's a number of dope ones. Which means boars make their way into the A tier. Okay, now we have camels with the triggered defense ability. Once again, fantastic for solo, the best pet defensive you can take. And we basically have llamas and camels. So unfortunately, that's gonna decide it right there. You know what? They should go in B tier functionally. I'm gonna put them C tier because I hate them. Okay, carapaces. We have once again the defense ability, mid-tier defensive cooldown for your pet. And then calcified carapace, reducing physical damage taken by math. And if you actually do the math, it's terrible. This is not worth taking. So don't take a carapid. And since they're exotic, and they're ugly, and it's a waste of an exotic ability, B tier with the bats. Sorry, buddy. Okay, now we got carry-on birds with the bloody screech ability, aka mortal wounds. Okay, so this is our first parent ability called mortal wounds. Now, those of you who play WoW and who play PvP know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you don't, it says grievously wounds the target, reducing the effectiveness of any healing they receive for 10 seconds. This is probably the most powerful ability that you can take into PvP, because more often than not, the healing reduction is enough to make your damage outweigh the healing they receive. Fantastic ability, specifically in arenas. The slow ability is also good. I like to toggle between both depending on what kind of game I want to play. And the carry on birds, tell you what, some are pretty cool, and some are pretty meh, but there's enough cool ones for me to put them A tier. Next we got cats. Now cats are one of the only pet families that are non-exotic, but actually have two abilities, cat-like reflexes and prowl. Okay, so with cat-like reflexes, this is called the dodge parent ability, increasing dodge chance by 30% for 20 seconds on a 1.5 minute cooldown. Okay, this is not the best pet defensive you can take. In matter of fact, it's the worst. And then prowl, put your pet in stealth, and then the first attack out of stealth gets 20% bonus damage. Okay, so the only time you want to take a pet with a defensive ability and a defensive ability only is when you're going solo. And if you're going solo, you're gonna take either of the other two pet defensives and not dodge. It's the worst one. Now you can potentially make the case that this is actually a good pet because it comes with two abilities, but with prowl, you get a 20% bonus to one attack, you know? That's not very good. So the only place I could ever see a pet like this actually doing well is if you're a survival hunter and you're doing world PvP and you're out there going stealth. And you know, even then, because then you want the slow ability. Nope, cats suck. Cats are bad. But you know what? They actually look really cool, so they have to go into C tier. Okay, now we got chimeras with frost breath and frost storm breath. Frost breath is the slow ability that we already talked about. And frost storm breath is basically a cone attack that it channels. Now, unfortunately, this is another waste of an exotic ability, because it's actually a DPS loss for your pet to sit there and cast frost storm breath instead of just, you know, answering your kill command. So frost breath pairs well with cunning, and it could pair well in PvP. But it loses a point because it's a waste of an exotic ability. And they're ugly as all hell. They ugly. D tier. Next, cleft hooves. Okay, so we got thick hide and blood of the rhino. Now, thick hide is the triggered defense ability. It's the best pet defensive that you can have in the special ability slot. And they also come with the exotic ability, blood of the rhino, giving the cleft hoof 10% more armor and increases the effectiveness of healing, which is absolutely huge. Your men pet is gonna do so much more. This is the #1 solo pet to take. This is the #1 solo pet to take. And they are ugly, except for Fault Line, the cool one with the chimney on his face. But it's actually so good that even though they're ugly, they are gonna go in the S tier. And if you like hunting large pets that annoy your fellow player, that take up the whole screen, these guys are a great one to pick. Okay, now we got Corehounds, another exotic that come with the Obsidian Skin ability, aka the defense ability, mid-tier defensive cooldown for your pet, and also Molten Hide, which frankly sounds a lot cooler than it is. You know, infusing its hide with molten lava, you know, causing damage to all further attackers. Sounds like a good pet that you would want to take solo, right? Well, too bad the Molten Hide ability, it's not totally useless, but the goal here with the WoW team was to create a solo pet, and they have just created such a better solo pet with the cleft hoofs that it makes the Corehounds damn near useless. Now they do look really cool, little two-headed dogs. A lot of people like to use the fiery ones. But I mean, if you're taking exotic and you're going solo, you're gonna take cleft hoof, which means that even though the Corehounds belong probably in the A or B tier, because of the cleft hoof, I'm actually gonna put them D tier. Actually, we'll do C tier because they look kind of cool, although they are overused. Spam calls and texts aren't just annoying, they are proof that your personal data is being passed around by scammers on the dark web. These scammers are literally farming your digital existence, and each message leads straight back to the data broker who legally stole your information in the first place for a nice $70,000 to $100,000 a year salary. That means that every username you enter, every medical symptom you Google, and yes, everything you've ever searched on the hub is being stored and saved, even when you use incognito mode. NordVPN cuts that off at the source by rerouting your IP address through their encrypted servers, preventing hackers and data brokers from identifying you and getting rich off your vulnerability. And don't be fooled into thinking that using a VPN will make your gaming experience worse. In fact, I game on a Wi-Fi connection with NordVPN on at all times and have zero issues, especially after switching over from ExpressVPN. The reality is that the internet is getting more dangerous and malicious every day. It's important to protect yourself from scammers and scummy data brokers who would ruin your life for a quick buck. And since NordVPN hooked it up for BlueMonkey viewers, you can get 77% off a 2-year plan, plus an additional 3 months for free at the first link in the description, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's absolutely no risk for you. Now, I do receive a small commission for anyone who signs up, but not only is it at no additional cost to you, you actually save money while helping ensure BlueMonkey content continues to roll out. Stop letting data brokers collect and sell your private information. Click the first link in the description and get NordVPN today. Okay, next we got coursers with the Fleet Hoof ability, the dodge ability. The worst defensive cooldown that your pet can come with. Synergizes with basically nothing because you're not going to take this pet. However, they do look super dope. Everything from flaming demon horses to zebra unicorns to glowing celestial steeds. And because of that, coursers, C tier. Okay, now we got crabs with the pin ability. Slowing movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. Perfectly synergizes with cunning. Great PvP pet to have. And all in all, they all look the same. The only one that I really like is the one that's not on screen, because it's not really a crab, it's actually a spear beast. So the usefulness and synergy puts them here, but they're ugly, so they go here. All right, next we got the crocolisks with the slow ability, good for PvP, synergizes well with cunning, and only 2 models in the game, each with color palettes that look the exact same. Okay, so once again, with the crocolisk, usefulness puts them here, ugliness puts them here. Now we got Devilsaur as an exotic pet with the monstrous bite and feast ability. Monstrous bite is mortal wounds, like we were talking about. Great in PvP. Damn near mandatory in arenas, depending on the comp you're going against. And then feast, where the Devilsaur feasts on a nearby humanoid or beast corpse, healing itself. Sounds cool, right? Pretty metal, but ultimately it's useless. You're just gonna use your exhilaration, or if you like me and you cheese it, and you're just gonna use your camouflage and heal while you're camouflaged, like a degenerate. I don't think that's a recommended build, so do with that what you will. On the other hand, they are pretty damn cool looking, and we have a number of sweet models in the game, from undead, armored, and beyond. I used to use the Devilsaur all the time, and frankly, I was a dinosaur kid, so I have a little bit of a bias. And so even though it's a waste of an exotic ability, and there's really not that many cool looks, just a couple, I don't care. This is my tier list. Okay, another dinosaur. Dire horns. Okay, they come with the ability Gore, aka mortal wounds once again. Non-exotic though, great in arenas, great in PvP. Synergizes well with both cunning and ferocity. And we've got a couple armored models, and the other ones are basically just reskins. Okay, so once again, functionally they go in the A tier. And they're probably B plus as far as looks for me. But the fact that you actually have to go out and grind for a tome to tame them puts them in D tier for me. I ain't doing that. Ain't nobody got time for that. They're not that cool. They're not that damn cool unless you want to tame some raid bosses. Which, there's plenty of other raid bosses that you can tame that don't require you to run around killing the same mob. Okay, next we got Dragonhawks, D tier. Why? They come with one of the worst abilities in the game. The dodge ability. This sucks. You don't take it. And, not to mention, there's only one model and they're all fucking ugly. What a waste. Who thought it? Doesn't matter. Moving on. All right, next we got Feathermanes. Drink some water. If you haven't drank any water today, pause the video right now. Go drink some water. All right, Feathermanes. You need a tome in order to tame them. They are non-exotic, but they come with 2 abilities, so that's a plus. However, it's Feather Flurry, which is dodge, which is trash, like we already talked about, and the slow fall ability is pretty cool. So this is really niche. Like if you're doing world PvP, and you're gonna be falling off some cliffs and doing some aerial acrobatics, and you're playing survival, that's probably the only instance I would take this pet. Because if you want to do the same thing with Beastmastery, you can just take a Pterodax, and obviously not gonna take this pet solo, even though it has defensive ability, because it sucks. But with that being said, they do look pretty dope. They are very, very niche. They're so niche that they should go in the C tier, but I do like the way they look, so we're gonna put them B. That feels wrong though. No, we're gonna keep them B. Okay, now we got foxes with the agile reflexes ability, aka dodge. And you have only 2 models, pretty cool colorful ones, and then the classic ones, but nevertheless, not cool enough. Okay, now we got gorillas with the silverback ability, aka trigger defense. Okay, this is a great pet to take if you're going solo and you're playing survival and you want a pet to tank for you. Any pet, frankly, any non-exotic pet with the trigger defense ability, if you're going survival and if you're going solo, those are the pets that you should take. And there's not a ton of variety with the gorillas, but you get some ghostly models, you get some raid boss models, you get some undead models. I think they deserve to go in A tier, but they're probably gonna go in B tier. Just because there's not enough cool looks. They just need to put more cool models in the game. Okay, now we got gruff horns, which once again come with the trigger defense ability. So great for going solo if you're survival. Obviously, if you're going Beastmaster, you're gonna take an exotic anyway, so. And they have actually barely any cool models. Although there is one that I really like to take, which is the Hexed Craghopper. And it's probably gonna go in a future video of basically cool and easy pets. But nevertheless, there's only one model that looks cool, but it is functional, so it's going B tier. Okay, now we have hoppers with the Swarm of Flies ability, increasing dodge chance, trash. But there's some pretty cool models in the game. And actually, I'm gonna throw some footage on screen real quick because there's one called the Marsh Sculper that you can find in the Tanan jungle. And it's bugged, so it shrinks your pet down like it's hexed. And so it ends up super fucking tiny, which is hilarious. So they're useless, but they look cool. And there's no way I can put them in S tier because that's just asking too much. Okay, now we got hounds with the lockjaw ability, slowing movement speed by 50%, fantastic to take into PvP, specifically battlegrounds and world PvP. And with a ton of dope looks and a bunch of undead models as well, which as an undead player, I don't mind because I didn't need the tome, right? I didn't need the tome, so either be undead or get the tome and give it the program. But dogs are going S tier. Okay, now we got hydras with the acid bite ability, aka mortal wounds. Now, there's not a ton of models in the game, but there is 2, specifically the top and the bottom ones that I have on screen right now. Both raid bosses, some of my favorite models in the game. Fantastic to take in PvP, which is my favorite type of content. Yeah, we're going A tier. I just can't put them S because there's not enough cool ones. Right, like I'm a collector, I want more. There's not enough, sorry dude, going A tier. Not my problem. Okay, now we got hyenas with infected bite, aka mortal wounds. Good for PvP, pair it with cunning and ferocity, and they all look the exact same except for some of them are armored. So if it goes with your transmog, then fine, but for me, it's going B tier. All right, lesser dragonkin comes with the ability Shimmering Scales. This is actually the only pet family that has a unique ability right now. And you know what? I don't know what to think about this ability. Because I just haven't used it and I haven't tested it. Reducing magic damage by 70% for 8 seconds. That's only 8 seconds on a 1.5 minute cooldown. And it's only magic damage, so think about that as like, let's just say 35%. Reduce damage taken by 35% for 8 seconds on a 1.5 minute cooldown. You better hope your pet casts that thing at the right time. Either that or you're gonna have to disable the ability and go cast it yourself in order for it to actually be useful, and you're gonna have to interrupt your rotation and distract yourself. Plus they require a tome, and as a matter of fact, it requires a different tome for the Cloud Serpents than for all the other ones. For some reason, this pet offends me. I don't know if it's about the tomes. I don't know if it's because you know what? You know what it is that I want to tame a Cloud Serpent, but I'm spending too much time YouTubing and not enough time wowing that I haven't been able to grind for it. So fuck you. Lesser Dragonkin, we'll put him C. Let's move on. Now we got lizards with Grievous Bite, aka Mortal Wounds. Fantastic in PvP. Pairs with cunning and ferocity, like I've been saying, and yeah, some of them look pretty cool. I wouldn't say they're super dope must-haves. And from what I'm seeing, the only rare and one-of-a-kind models are actually, well, they're pretty ugly. There's one black and orange one that's kind of cool. All right, so it's super useful, but they're ugly, so it's going B tier. Now we have mammoths with the trample ability, aka the slow ability. Once again, good in PvP, battlegrounds, and world PvP. You got models that look like they're on fire, models that look like they're made of stone, and obviously you got the heffalumps. For me, they don't look cool enough and there's not enough of them. So they're going back in B tier. All right. Now we have mechanicals with the defense matrix ability, aka the defense ability. Mid-tier defensive cooldown for your pet. Requires a tome to tame, but some of the models are just so damn funny. Freaking robot chickens and parrots and squirrels. Now, once again, the only reason that you're gonna take a pet with a defensive ability is if you're going solo and your pet's tanking for you. And if you're survival and you're not taking exotic and you want a pet to tank for you, you're gonna take something with a triggered defense ability. So here's the thing about WoW right now. And frankly, it was the same like 4 years ago last time I was playing World of Warcraft and last time I was on YouTube. The way the pet abilities are locks you out of picking certain pets if you want to actually perform well. Which I suppose is the entire idea behind this tier list, right? You want a pet that performs well and you want a pet that looks good. But with the mechanicals, they don't perform well. They've got some cool looking looks. It requires a tome to tame them. But there's so many funny ones that I feel like I should put a B tier. And obviously we're getting a little bit of a bell curve going on, guys. Now we have monkeys with the primal agility ability. AKA dodge, AKA trash. It's not good. And literally only 5 models in the game. And the only cool one is Give the Banana Hoarder with this little genie hat on. And while that's funny and all right, now we got moths with the Serenity Dust ability, which is that Dispel, same one that comes on the Spirit Beast. And I'll tell you guys a story. Now, I only vaguely remember this, but I was about 10 years old, and I literally blocked this memory out from my brain because apparently I was traumatized by it, but my mom was talking to me. But apparently I was 10 years old, and I called my mom, and she was at work, and I was crying. I was like, Mom, there's a moth the size of a bird in the house. I don't know what to do. And apparently I took care of it like a fucking gangster. And ever since then, and you know what? Ever since then, I've hated moths. I hated moths even before I remembered what happened. My grandpa used to tease me all the time because I would sleep in the guest room, and I remember being a kid and there was like a decoration on the wall, and it was nighttime, and I'm a kid, and I'm thinking it's a moth, and I'm just like looking up at this thing. It was just like a key hanging or something like that. But anyways, fuck moths. They go in D tier. I don't care. All right, now we're looking at oxen. They come with Niu Zhao's Fortitude or something, aka Trigger Defense. Fantastic solo ability if you are a survival hunter. Do they look cool? Yeah. Debatable. Not very much variety at all either. Goes B tier. Goes B tier, and that's just the way it goes, right? There's always an average, right? All right, now we got Pterodactyls with Ancient Hide. Like I was saying, if you're playing BM and you're playing World PvP and you want that slow fall updraft ability, this is what you're gonna take. And then with Ancient Hide, this is also perfectly acceptable to take. You know when's, and it's kind of niche, but this pet would really shine if you're doing solo leveling content with war mode on and you're ready for the smoke. While you're out there doing your world content solo, Pterodactyl is probably the exact perfect pet that you want to take. However, that is super niche. They all look the same. There isn't any super cool, unique, or one-of-a-kind models. We're just gonna put them squarely, guess where? B tier, that's right. Okay, now we have Raptors. Now Raptors go S tier because they're my favorite. But let's talk about them for a sec. Savage Ren, AKA Mortal Wounds, right? Great PvP ability. And you know what, while we're doing this, let's just make that a little less ugly. And if you're curious, is Venom. Venom's the background. All right, so here we are, boom. Okay, so they come with Mortal Wounds, fantastic in PvP. There are so many different models that all look so cool that they go in the S tier, which I already told you, and then perfectly synergize with either Cunning or Ferocity, depending on if you're going to Battlegrounds or if you're going into PvP, what the enemy team comp is, etc. Now, I have tamed every raptor in the game except for the Dragonfly ones. So you know what I'm gonna do? After I'm done recording here, I'm not even gonna edit. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna capture these because it's driving me crazy. All right, next we got Ravagers with the ability Ravage. Who would have thought? Mortal Wounds, PvP ability, synergize as well, ugly as hell. B tier. Raise with the Nether Energy ability. It's that purge, self-heal ability for your pet. Pretty trash. Probably the worst special ability a pet can have. And ugly as hell. Unless you're doing some type of underwater themed transmog, it's gonna be D tier. Okay, now we got River Beasts with the Gruesome Bite ability, aka Mortal Wounds. Good synergy for PvP. Basically no models that look cool except for this wounded gray one, which is a one-of-a-kind fun model. And I actually have a video about all of the injured pets, pets with like arrows sticking out of them, bleeding, scars, pets that have, seen battle and come back with a scar to tell the story. So I'll put that on screen right now if you want to go watch that. And I'll also put it in the description. But although that one is cool, the rest of them kind of suck. It's useful, so it goes in A tier. It's ugly, so it goes in B tier, but they're actually so ugly and so, just no variety. C tier it goes. Okay, now we got rodents with the gnaw ability, aka, say it with me now, mortal wounds. Okay, mortal wounds. Good PvP synergy. Purposely ugly, but you know what? There are some funny ones that I actually really do like these big-eared mouses and like the floral porcupines. That's enough for me to put them in the A tier. I actually got to go out and tame some of these guys. Okay, so now for scale hides. They come with the ability Scale Shield, aka defense, aka mid-tier defensive cooldown, aka you're just not going to take it. However, there are a couple that look pretty cool. Just not enough variety and none that really individually stand out. So we'll probably put them C tier. Okay, and then with the Scorpids, with the, once again, Mortal Wounds ability, good PvP synergy. Not very many models in the game, although there is some cool crystal ones and like some flaming ones. Usefulness puts them A tier, and then lack of variety puts them B tier. Okay, so now for the Serpents, with the dodge ability, aka trash. And not very many cool looking models in the game. Actually, you know what? There's not a lot of variety. But the variety that is there looks different enough and unique enough for people to look and say, whoa, where'd you get that pet? So it's trash, so it goes D tier, right? But we'll go up to C tier just for the couple unique models that we got going on here. Okay, now with the Shale Beasts, an exotic ability, back to exotics. They come with Solid Shell and Shimmering Shale. Say that 10 times fast. Okay, aka the defense ability, mid tier. But with the Shimmering Shale, it's just like the Carapads, right? The math actually works out to be inconsequential. And the fact that there's only 2 kinds, right, they're not even useful, I'm going D tier with it. I'm going D tier. All right, now we got spiders with web spray, aka slow. Good in PvP, synergizes well with cunning. There are some pretty dope looking models and some rare and unique ones that you have to actually go through a series of hoops to go out and obtain, to where it's like, oh, you tamed Death to Lack? Okay, you're serious about it. And so since it's that much of a flex, and since they're good in PvP, it should go in S tier, but although there's just not that much variety, they'll go A. All right, guys, hang in there. We got 13 pets left to go. Okay, next is Spirit Beast. The only pet in the game that actually comes with 3 abilities: Spirit Pulse, Spirit Mend, and Spirit Walk. Spirit Pulse is that pretty inconsequential ability where they purge itself of disease, magic, and poison. And then you've got Spirit Mend, which heals itself and you, or any friendly target, for about 10%. And then Spirit Walk, that stealth ability that boosts its damage when it comes out of stealth. This is a solid choice depending on the situation that you're in. If you're going into raids, you can take Spirit Beast and pair it with a Tenacity spec. And doing that is gonna give you 3 heals, right? Your Exhilaration, your Fortitude of the Bear, and now your Spirit Mend. You can also take Spirit Beast in dungeons with a Tenacity spec, as long as somebody else has Bloodlust. Okay, and if nobody else has Bloodlust, you can simply swap your Spirit Beast over to Ferocity, and then one of your heals turns into Leech. You still have 2 active heals that you can use, and then you can bring Bloodlust to the team. Now, if you're going solo, it's still going to be Cleft Hoof all day long. However, the Spirit Beasts, they synergize well with multiple specs. They have the widest variety of models in the game. This is the pet family that WoW has obviously given the most attention to. So you can tell this is obviously the World of Warcraft team's favorite pet family. And frankly, we really like them too, right? That makes 6 S tier pets so far. Okay, now we have the Spore Bats with the Purge ability, right? Trash. Literally only 6 models in the game, and they look the exact fucking same. And that's that. Now we got Stags with Nature's Grace. The same trash ability. However, some really freaking dope models to pull from and go out and tame. And some one-of-a-kind unique ones that you can only find in one spot, and some that you actually have to put some effort into. So they're absolutely useless, right? But they look super dope. But they're not useful enough to even go in B tier, even though they look really cool. But do they? Yeah! Oh, I'm gonna go B tier. Just because I like them. The appearances, right? Stonehounds. Another exotic with stone armor and Eternal Guardian. Right, trigger defense. And then Eternal Guardian, you get like an instant res mid-battle, which is super dope. And then stone armor, this is the triggered defense ability, but it's actually just a little bit different for the stone hounds, because normally it's when falling below 40% health, they take 60% less damage. But with stone armor, it's take 40% less damage, but also regenerate 3% of its max health every 1 second for 15 seconds. So over 15 seconds, that's gonna be 45% of its health. So damn near half of its health is gonna heal itself automatically. And I'll tell you why triggered defense is a better defensive than all the other ones. And I touched on this a little bit more briefly, but with triggered defense, not only is it the biggest amount of damage mitigation, but you're not relying on the pet AI to cast it for you. Because as soon as it hits 40% health, it's gonna trigger, right? And it does have the longest cooldown of any of the pet defensives. But the chances that you're gonna be, because once again, this is a solo special ability, the chances that you're gonna be in combat for 2 minutes straight, most of the time is low, right? Like you're gonna have those encounters, of course, but whereas with the dodge ability or with the defense ability, you're relying on the pet AI to cast that shit. And who knows if it's gonna cast it when it's already at 95% health, and then it's gonna go on cooldown, and your pet's an idiot, so you either have to cast it yourself and interrupt your own rotation. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's a number of benefits to taking trigger defense over defense or dodge. Okay, so stone armor, trigger defense, Cleftive has that same thing, right? So we're talking about solo pets, right? And now, with the stone hounds, you have an instant res, which Cleftives don't have. Cleftives have an easier time staying alive, but if you can pop that Eternal Guardian at the right moment, misdirect, and then get your pet back up, but functionally, I would say it's probably on the same level as a Cleftive here. The unfortunate thing is that they are ugly, so they have to go A tier. This is what it is. Okay, now we got Tall Striders with the Dust Cloud ability, aka slow, good in PvP, synergizes well with cunning, and they all look the same and they're ugly, so perform well, but they're ugly. And there's no variety, so we'll go here, we'll go D tier. Okay, now we got Turtles with the Shell Shield ability, aka the defense ability. Not the most ideal defensive that your pet can have, as we've gone over multiple times. And do they look cool? Well, not necessarily, however. I count 3 unique and one-of-a-kind models that actually have unique mechanics in order to be able to unlock and tame, which is the shit that I'm all about, right? The only one that I don't have is this lava one, because I don't have Molten Front unlocked because I haven't done Firelands. I haven't done the Firelands quest chain, because I am 10 times more focused on getting videos out than I am in, doing old quest chains. However, it is one that I'm gonna have to go out and get at some point as YouTube's dedicated pet collection channel. That's probably something I should do. But nevertheless, mid-tier defensive, they don't look that great, but there's some unique and interesting ones. They'll go B tier as well. Now we got Warp Stalkers with the ability Warp Time, aka the slow ability. And do they look cool? Well, they kind of do. There's only one model in the game, and we have 7 colors that I'm looking at. You're only looking at 3, because, well, if I were to show you every model of every pet that we've gone over, we would only be like a few pets in. So, suck it up. Okay, the slow ability is fantastic. Not a lot of variety, but they do look cool. We'll put Warp Stalkers A tier. We'll put Warp Stalkers A tier. Yeah, you know what? We'll put Warp Stalkers B tier. Because I never use them. It's my tier list, right? I never use them. They're going B tier. Okay, now we have Wasps with Toxic Sting, aka Mortal Wounds, good PvP synergy, and a number of models that actually look pretty dope. They look pretty dope. I particularly like these fiery glowing ones, the top one that you see on your screen here. And I haven't really tamed any of these guys up, so I need to go out and get on my game. All right, so they're gonna go, so they're good, and they look cool. There's not a ton of variety. I don't use them. Let's go A tier. Oh, let's go B tier. All right, now we got another exotic, which is the Water Strider that comes with Soothing Waters and Surface Drop. Soothing Waters is the self-purge, and then Surface Drop lets you walk across water. As cool as that is, it's just not practically useful, right? It's just not practically useful. So you have the worst special ability, and then you have a waste of an exotic, combined with the fact that they're all ugly. The Water Striders go firmly in the D tier. Next, Waterfowl. Terrible special ability, worst in the game. They're all ugly, and there's no variety. Waterfowl will go here as well. I don't know why even bother making these pets? I made a video like 4 years ago called We Need Pet Changes, and I maintain that to this day. Just because we can switch the spec of our pet, we need different special abilities, and we need pet balancing. That's what we need. All right, now we got Wind Serpents. They come with Winged Agility, the worst pet defensive you can take. And they're all pretty damn ugly. There's a cool bone one that you can tame, and then there's a spectral version of that one that you can tame as well. But all in all, they are ugly, and they are useless. All right, the final two. Wolves with Furious Bite, aka the slow ability. Good synergy for PvP, and a ton of dope models. In fact, there's actually so many cool wolves in this game that I made a dedicated video about it like a long time ago. And some of the info in that video is not gonna be up to date just because now we can change the spec of our pet. But if you want to go and collect a bunch of cool wolves that take basically no effort, that are like well-kept secrets, you know, like if you run around and you've got this green one that I have shown you on screen, there's not a lot of people who have that guy. There's not a lot of people that you see using it. Truly one of a kind, stands out in the crowd. And there's also a blue one that I show you how to get. And then of course things like Fenrir and whatnot. So given that they perform well, given that they look cool, and given that there's a ton of variety, those are going to S tier as well. All right, last one we have is the worms. Okay, they come with Acid Spit, aka the slow ability, and they have Burrow Attack. It says the worm burrows into the earth and shakes the ground above, dealing math damage over 8 seconds. Now, if you actually do the math, this is a DPS loss. Once again, for your pet to sit there and channel its exotic ability, you're actually losing damage over just obeying your kill command and whatnot. Okay, so it doesn't matter if Acid Spit is good. It's a waste of an exotic ability, and they're all ugly. If you want a pet that slows your enemies, where you don't have to be Beastmaster in order to use it, just to get an attack that gives you a DPS loss, then you're just gonna take a wolf, right? So here we go, D tier. The first video I made when I came back to YouTube is called the rarest obtainable hunter pets of all time. And so if you're looking for another long form video to play in the background while you're driving to work, play in the background while you're doing your weeklies, go and click on that right now, and I'll see you soon. Peace.